ACE Prep Part 3, PRTK. Now this section we'll do a little bit differently than the other sections. We'll launch into some demonstrations and then come back from time to time and answer some questions. Let's start our discussion of PRTK with EFS encrypted files. Within FTK, you would identify EFS encrypted files from the Overview tab, going to File Status, and to the container called Encrypted Files. And within there, you will see a special icon for EFS encrypted files. And let's say we use, for an example, a file called greatpickuplines.doc. If I look at the category column, I can see that FTK has identified this as an EFS encrypted file. Now for the exam, you don't need to decrypt any EFS files, but you do need to understand the process. So an EFS encrypted file always has an alternate data stream which contains a certificate which has information about the encryption process. To see that, you have to look at that from the Explore tab. So to get there quickly, I will just right-click on my file and I'll view this in a different list, which will be the Explore tab. FTK will take me to the Explore tab and it will highlight that file, in this case up in the directory tree. Anytime that you have individual files in the directory tree, it indicates that they have a sub-item or a child item. And in this case, if it's an EFS encrypted file in the tree, it has a $EFS stream, and I'll need to be in my File Content tab to view that, and in my Natural tab in the viewer. And when I do, FTK will show me the contents of that certificate, and it will show me that the Windows user named Frodo Baggins was the user who encrypted that EFS file. And that's crucial because I need to know which Windows user encrypted that file in order to decrypt it, because a big part of the EFS encryption is the Windows user's login password, which would be contained in the SAM file. So then, armed with this information, I could attack the SAM file, and specifically the account of Frodo Baggins, hopefully obtain that password. Okay, let's next turn our attention to more conventional encryption. So I've returned to the File Status Encrypted Files container on the Overview tab. And for this example, let's look at a file called real1.doc. And the category column for FTK tells me that this is a Microsoft Word 2000 document, so it looks like it's encrypted using Word encryption. So let's work at decrypting this file. If we use the access data methodology, my first step should be to export the file out of FTK. So I will export the file from FTK. And I have a folder on my desktop called Encrypted Docs, so I will send it there. My file is now exported. And now I am ready for the second step, which would be to export a word list from FTK to increase my chances of password recovery. We'll export that word list and use that as a dictionary in PRTK. So to do that, I would go to File, Export Word List. When I choose that, I will get first a pop-up box which shows registry files as well. In this case, I will not choose any registry files. I'll simply click on Export, and I'll choose a location to save my text file into, and also a file name for it. And then FTK will go through the process of saving that dictionary out. So now that I'm done, I have a text file that I need to import into PRTK. PRTK is now launched, and One of the first things I can do in PRTK is to get a better idea of how I should attack my file. If I look at the Help menu and the Recovery Modules option, this is a built-in help for figuring out how I will attack my file. So in a moment, Internet Explorer will open and it will show me this kind of information: module name, display name, the attack types, and then the supported products. So now let's look at one of our study points. Name the 4 types of attacks listed in the PRTK Help Recovery Modules menu. And looking at that column that we just saw in the tool, we have a dictionary attack where a dictionary is used, a decryption where an analytical attack is performed on the file, a key space attack or brute force attack where all the possible combinations are tried, and then lastly there's a reset where PRTK will just zero out the location that stores the password, and you won't recover the password, but you'll have access to the document. Let's now take a closer look at what we do with our word list in PRTK, and also take a look at the biographical dictionary. Now that we've looked at our help file, determined the attack type for our Word document, which in this case would be a dictionary attack, then we'll jump over to PRTK, and our first order of business will be to import that word list from FTK into PRTK. I can do that from the Tools menu, Dictionary Utility, or I can click on the wrench icon on the toolbar. Either one will open the dictionary utility. So I simply browse to my text file, select that, and click Generate. Once my import is complete, as another option, I can go to the Dictionary Tools menu and go to the Biographical Dictionary Generator. And here I can input in some terms that are specific to the target of my investigation. Hopefully that will give me a better chance of guessing the password. And in the Biographical Dictionary Generator, I have a drop-down menu that has specific fields that I can populate by typing in the appropriate terms, hopefully using something that the user is familiar with and that might be part of their password. I've now populated my biographical dictionary with various fields having something to do with the target of my investigation. And with that, by looking at these drop-down field names, now we can go back and answer another one of our study guide questions. What types of fields are available in the biographical dictionary? And we've just seen from the tool: name, address, city, state, zip code, country, phone number, and date, number, word, phrase. Now there's no need to memorize these in terms of the exam, but it's important to understand the function and where these are though. Let's next look at how to create an attack profile in PRTK. In PRTK, I will finish creating my biographical dictionary by switching over to the Generator tab, clicking Generate, and giving it a name. I'll call this ACE Prep, and since this is a biographical dictionary, I do like to put the word bio in there to distinguish it. So I'll save that in the dictionaries directory with all of the other PRTK dictionaries. And once I'm done, I can close the dictionary utility and I'm ready to create a profile. I can access the Profiles function from the Edit menu and Profiles, and note the yellow key icon there, because I can also just simply click on this yellow key icon for Manage Profiles and get to the same function. So from here, I would need to create a customized profile that will use my exported dictionary from FTK and my biographical dictionary that I just created. So we highly recommend that you use the PRTK profile as your template or your starting point. So by highlighting that, I will choose New from Selected, and then that will force me to give that new customized dictionary another new name. I'll just call that ACE Prep. And from here, the only alterations I really need to make are in my dictionary section. I want to add in my biographical dictionary, which there's actually an XML version, as well as down below I would see a code page, combined code page, and Unicode version, which is here. I also want to add in my word list that I've imported from FTK, and this choice incorporates the code page and Unicode versions of that word list. So having made those choices, I would simply click OK to save that. And at this point, we can answer another one of our study points. Name the 4 major sections of a PRTK attack profile. And the answer is dictionaries, rules or levels, languages, and character groups. So jumping back to PRTK again, we can see here is the dictionaries area. We have the languages, character groups, and the rules. So I will simply save that profile. And now here is my customized profile, ready to be used. Now, one thing we have not done yet is to take a look at what we've actually created in the biographical dictionary. So I will backtrack for a moment and go back to my dictionary utility to take a look at that. We discussed the fields that make up the biographical dictionary, but what I will do is use the dictionary browser to actually look at what we've generated. And I will locate the code page version of my biographical dictionary, and I'll highlight that and view my entries. And as you can see, the biographical dictionary generator takes the terms that I've input and creates all kinds of permutations or variations of that data, with the hope that somewhere in there might be the password that my target has used. Let's next have a look at the decryption process, and let's also talk a little bit about the golden dictionary. In PRTK, as a reminder, we now have a profile set up that we called ACE Prep, and in that profile we've incorporated our exported word list from FTK and included our biographical dictionary. So now I'm all set to use that. I've made my way to the encrypted file that I've exported from FTK, and I want to send that to PRTK for decryption. And there's 2 ways I can do that. I can do it from the File menu and add files, and then navigate to the folder which contains my document, or the more commonly used way, which is just simply to drag and drop. PRTK will go through a short process of adding the file in and recognizing what it is, and it should bring you here to the Add Job wizard. So here is where we want to take the time to use whatever customized profile we set up, and in this case it's going to be the ACE Prep profile. So I'll choose that and then go to the next screen, and here I'm presented for Microsoft Office type documents. Normally I have 4 choices, 3 of which are key space attacks, which should be our last resort. And so I will normally turn these key space attacks off with the strategy of trying the dictionary attack first, because we have a dictionary from our case and we have a biographical dictionary set up. So I'll choose those. I'll choose that profile, only the dictionary attack, and PRTK will add that job into my window. Now the job has been added and it will queue, eventually it will run, and hopefully we'll have some success at obtaining our password. My password recovery job is completed, and as you can see, we were successful in obtaining a password. We can now answer another one of our study points. How was the Golden Dictionary created? And the answer is it's automatically generated from successfully recovered passwords on that local computer. Now that we've recovered a password locally on our machine, let's have a look at the Golden Dictionary. So locally on my computer, I would start my navigating at Program Data, Access Data, PR, and Dictionaries. And what I should find is a file called goldendictionary.xml. And what I've done is opened that XML file in Notepad and done a search for my recovered password, and you can see that that recovered password, Real SLC, is now in the Golden Dictionary, and that will be used at the top of my list when I start another kind of recovery job. That contents of the Golden Dictionary is what is tried first by PRTK. Let's next look at documenting our recovery information from PRTK and how FTK and PRTK are closely integrated. Let's have a look. PRTK provides a number of ways to document my recovery information. One of those would be by going directly to the recovered job, and one of the right-click options is to decrypt the file. I can do this with Microsoft Office type documents. And what I'm doing when I do this is simply creating a decrypted copy of this file. So with the password stripped out in a decrypted copy. Notice that by default, PRTK includes the word decrypt in the new file name that I'm creating. And so I can create a decrypted copy of the file. Secondly, in PRTK, I can right-click on my job and I can copy that password or passwords to the Windows clipboard. That way I can later paste that into FTK, perhaps in the use of a bookmark or to decrypt a file within FTK. Another way within PRTK to document my activity would be from the File menu. I can generate a report. And when I choose that, I am saving or creating a PDF version of that documentation. So let's say I put it in a folder on my desktop, and I'll give this a name. Recovered file report. It's a PDF, and I'll generate the file. The resulting document looks like this, has information about my job, and it notes the recovered password. And this is something else that I can add into FTK by means of a bookmark, among other means. To follow through with this, I have the option of bookmarking the file, my original encrypted file, in FTK, making a bookmark. I've added in my PDF report file, and I've also have the bookmark comment area where I could optionally add in the recovered password and save my changes to that bookmark. So now I've documented things rather nicely. Within FTK, I also have some other options regarding this file. If I go to the Tools menu and Decrypt Files, with the box already checked for Perform Automatic Decryption, I can click on the Set Passwords button, and I could also copy in my password, which I know works for the document, and this way I'm within FTK creating a decrypted copy of this file. So I'll follow through with that. Click Decrypt, and once FTK finishes processing that, then now I have in my decrypted files container one item, which is a decrypted copy of that document. And notice it also appends the word decrypted to the beginning of that file. Now, if I view this newly decrypted item in the Explore tab, I will see that it is now a sub-item of the original encrypted file. So in the tree, here's the parent, and here is the decrypted sub-item, the child file. Now here is yet another option in FTK. If I go back to the Overview tab and back to my encrypted files container and look at my original file that we decrypted, real1.doc, remember that we've already created a decrypted copy of that in PRTK. So when I highlight that, and from my right-click option, I have an option to add a decrypted file. And I will navigate out to my decrypted file, which was decrypt real1.doc in this case, and I could add that into FTK as well. Once that job finishes, I get a confirmation, and I also note that now there are two items in the decrypted files container. So there's a couple of different ways in which I can bring those files into FTK and document those. FTK also has an additional encryption capability, new in FTK 5, and with this one I can merely select a file and send that directly to PRTK for decryption. The only caveat to that is in PRTK, if I do that, then PRTK will run that job, but it will use the currently selected default profile. So in preparation for that, I would want to choose a different profile, whatever my desired profile is, and set that one as default first. Now when I do this, FTK will send the file to PRTK. PRTK does not necessarily have to be running. If it's not running, it will launch automatically, or if it's running like we see here, it will just add that job in. So to do that, I would go back to FTK, and from the Tools menu, send to DNA PRTK for password recovery. With that file already highlighted, choosing PRTK, and in this case all highlighted items, which is only the one file, I would send that out to PRTK. And it may take a couple of moments for that job to populate in the PRTK window. Here we see the job has populated now in the PRTK window, and it would be using that profile that's designated currently as default. Eventually, the other jobs that say waiting or depends on will disappear, assuming that the password is recovered. My job is now completed. Here is my newly recovered password. With this newly recovered password, there could be other files encrypted in my case in FTK that use that same password. So if I wanted to try those in FTK, there is a processing option available under Additional Analysis for automatic decryption. Now in this case, I'm going to run this case-wide on all items, and if I go to my Indexing Tools tab, I can perform automatic decryption, And by clicking the password button, it gives me a chance to input any passwords that I would like to try. So, reminding myself of my recovered password in PRTK, which in this case was secret, then I can either type or I can copy and paste from a document whatever passwords I'd like to try and proceed from here by clicking OK and then clicking OK to begin additional analysis. Once my job is completed, if I have a look, I have another addition in my decrypted files container, and in this case it looks like it was just the copy that was originally in my case that I sent out to PRTK. So automatically FTK has decrypted that file within my case, and it's created a sub-item of that. So it's a sub-item of my original encrypted file. Let's now answer the last of our PRTK questions having to do with registry files. Which of the following registry files, SAM, System Security Software, ntuser.dat, can be attacked by PRTK for encrypted information? And the answer is SAM, Security, ntuser.dat, and Software sometimes. And notice the asterisk there for the Content Advisor password. So let's take a look at this. In FTK, I've checked the ntuser.dat file belonging to Frodo, also the SAM and security registry files. And I will export those out of my case, and I'll send those out to a folder on my desktop. My files are now exported, and now I will drag those into PRTK. I'll start with the ntuser.dat file, and you'll note that it is recognized by PRTK, and going a little further you can see there's some specific areas in the registry that are recognized there. So I will cancel that, drop in my SAM file, again noting that it recognizes the file, and it also sees some user accounts within the file that it can attempt to recover passwords for. So I'll cancel that one. And then one last time, the security file. In some cases there will be information in here that should be recognized by PRTK. And again, note that it does recognize the file, and it sees that there is some information possible to recover there.